What's happening, regular dudes? And pardon my manners, you never take a rifle anywhere without loading it. That was just to piss off the haters, and just to piss off the tactical response guys. That's a press check. What's going on, guys? It's a regular guy with the Regular Guy Firearms channel, and today we're actually going over a pretty neat little rifle here. Now, this is a reshoot of the Knight's Armament SR-15. The original video was kind of rushed and fucked up, so I figured I would fix this one. Now, what we have here is actually a rather interesting rifle. A while back, these guys produced these rifles, and this happens to be the Mod 1 version of this rifle. The Mod 2 is currently out, but nonetheless, it is still a pretty neat piece. Now, we're going to go over a little bit of the boring stuff as far as the specifics, what it comes with, what the options are, blah 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 blah. Now, first thing, this break here is Knight's Armament oriented. It was produced by them. It is obnoxious as hell, but it helps the gun shoot very, very, very flat. You'll be able to see exactly what type of muzzle blast we're dealing with here as of right now. So aside of the whole concussion thing, because honestly it's not even really that bad. You just kind of get a rush of gases in your area rather than it being like a dual port break from Surefire or like the antidote from Rifle Dynamics. It's not really harsh on anything. It's just, it's present and it's mildly irritating. So that's all it really is. The big pro to that break is that it absolutely helps the gun hold itself down in pretty much every way possible. Like, for instance, this Elcan Spectre is, well, when I shot it anyway, it was in 4 power, and I'm shooting at a 100-yard line target, and you see in the footage me shooting at this freaking thing, and I gotta tell you, the reticle in the thing moved barely at all. And we all know, especially military dudes running ACOGs, how much those fuckers like to move around on standard issue M4 type rifles. So it definitely helps the gun be really, really smooth. The next thing that we have here is the particular gas system that that Knights decides that they're going to go with. And rather than going with the norms like rifle length, mid-length, or carbine length, they kind of do the intermediate route. And the intermediate route is, as you would have probably guessed, a little bit longer than a carbine length system, yet a little bit shorter than a rifle length system. But not quite a mid-length. So it's kind of odd in why they chose a very proprietary gas system to use. But then, that being said, that adds to the smoothness of how this rifle shoots. Now, as we have come to expect from the Knight's Armament Company, they use cold hammer forged barrels. They do everything to basically mil-spec guidance as far as the upper and lower receivers are concerned. But that's pretty much where that ends. What's odd about this particular AR is that it is very highly proprietary. Now, I'm going to rip this rifle apart and show you some slight variations between it and other AR-type rifles.
Who's my next shooter? Get your rifle. Keep prone, other side of the barrel. Safe. Move up to the next line.
Alright, so now we have a ripped apart rifle. Now, It comes as no real surprise that that this was a pet project of Eugene Stoner's for a long time. He came to work with the Knights Armament Company for about 15 years after he left Armalite. So, within this little project, there's a number of different changes to it than the AR-type platform that we all know and the variations that we all currently know. So, going with basically all of that, we're going to start by a lot of little differences in how the rifle is built, and some of the major ones also. A little difference would include, for instance, this cam pin. Now, it might be a little hard to tell, but the cam pin here is necked down. And the reason for this was to even out the amount of wear on the thing and allow it to move through the carrier a little more freely. Apparently, there were a lot of issues with basically how Eugene thought that the weapon system was running, as far as the cam pins moving in and out and wearing on a consistently uneven manner. Now, I personally have never really noticed that type of thing, but he's the man, so okay. A really big deviation resides in this bolt. Now, very clearly you notice something immediately different, and that's in the springs here. It's a dual spring setup rather than an individual spring, and this is supposed to deal with possible stuck casing issues and extraction problems that the earlier guns have, or the legacy guns have. The extractor on this guy, you can see that this tooth is widened significantly. Okay, and that is supposed to aid in the extraction process, getting a firmer grip on the actual casing. Now, that's not where the differences end. The bolt itself has a lot of changes to it individually. Instead of squared off lugs like a traditional AR bolt has, this particular guy is sporting rounded lugs. This is supposed to deal with high wear issues that a lot of military service rifles go through, and we do see this, because after a certain round count, you do have to start checking for cracks in your bolt. The next thing also is that the barrel nut in this guy is actually highly proprietary as well as the hand guards, and even the bore and star chamber are slightly different also, to accommodate the rounded lugs on the different bolt. So what's kind of odd about this rifle is that while it is a superb quality rifle, and we're going to go over exactly why here in a minute, while it is a superb quality rifle, it's not exactly something that you can just kind of franken build together, and that's one of the main reasons why Knights doesn't really like people buying parts from them, or if they do buy parts, they come at a serious expense. The next thing that we're going to go over here is the lower. Now, the lower receiver is pretty much the closest thing to a complete ambi lower receiver out of the box that I've ever seen, because you have clearly the safety, the magazine release on both sides, and what's unique slightly about this, and that you don't see in a lot of other lowers, is a built-in provision for a bolt release as well. Now, the bolt lock is still in the traditional place, but you can get the rifle back into battery by simply pressing on this button, which is kind of great for lefties like myself, because when you go to, because just under speed, or if I'm not running the charging handle like I normally would, you can just push your thumb over that and drop the bolt on the gun. Right-handed dudes, a lot of guys really enjoy this, because instead of dealing with the whole mash the ping pong paddle deal, all they really have to do is touch off the bolt release with their trigger finger. So, in its own right, it's actually its own little masterpiece too, because it's not like Knights Armament was the first one to come out with ambi controls, but they're one of the few that sports it out of the box.
Wow, that was kind of cool. How did that jump off?
Must have loosened the mount up.
That was fucking on.
So, now that we've got this rifle back together, let's go over a bunch of things as far as the rifle is concerned. Yes, I understand I probably either skipped over a bunch of stuff or just failed to mention a bunch of stuff about the differences between the superbness of this particular rifle over any other AR type system. And Jesus Christmas, I can see the hate mail flowing in now from fanboys of either type. But we're not here to talk about little specifics. We're here to get to the bottom line as to whether or not this is actually a viable purchase. Now, I have witnessed this rifle go through a tactical response fighting rifle course. That's a 2-day, 1,500 round course. And this rifle actually is owned by a friend of mine. He took the class with me, and this rifle and my 12.5-inch AR pistol were pretty much the only ARs that ran 100% the entire time, with zero issues of any kind. So I will say that, bottom line, the thing is reliable as shit. Is it accurate? Absolutely. If you do your job, and even if you're using training ammunition, the thing prints at about an inch at 100. So it's definitely capable of shooting accurately and running reliably all fucking day. However, I do have issues with this rifle. Now, we just went over all of the differences between this and a conventional or a legacy style weapon system, and by legacy I mean the shit currently fielded by U.S. forces and the standard rifles, meaning the carbine and the rifle length guns. Now, it's good in that these are all improvements. It's bad because, as far as the longevity of the rifle is concerned, the parts themselves are going to be very expensive to replace, and they're not exactly readily available because the bolts that are going into the barrel extensions in these guns, unless they are the same rounded lug type bolts, you're going to eat your fucking barrel extension, which is not exactly something that you want to do. Now, if it's in an absolute pinch, if it's an emergency, yes, you can throw a standard style bolt in here and run it. Just be mindful that you're going to break things much faster than you would if you had the correct parts. Now, that's the first issue that I have. The second issue that I honestly have is, yes, while this rifle is superb in its performance, it's a little outrageously expensive. About on par with a SCAR. In some cases, a little less expensive, but about on par. Now, does this justify owning one? Honestly, that's up to you. Because why someone would buy one of these rifles is the same reason why I bought a SCAR. I fucking wanted one. But here's the deal. That's not the only gripe that I have with this rifle either. Now, I look at these backup iron sights, and when I flip them up, they seem functional and good to go. But they flip down out of the way, they're not actually held in place by anything. So the point of the iron sights has been defeated. Because if I have to flip these things up, then and I sweep it against gear or a rock or something and it goes down, well, why the hell do I have them there in the first place? And it's the same way with both front and rear sights. Okay. Another little issue that I have with it also is that if you're going to go through the effort to do ambi controls pretty much all throughout the lower receiver, why would you hamstring somebody with a right-handed only charging handle? It seems mildly lazy to me. But then again, all of the little complaints that I have on this rifle are pretty much bullshit. They're all personal preference anyway. So a big deal about this gun is that you have to really be in tune with ARs to really notice a severe difference. Because someone who's not into it picks up, let's say, a mid-length gun from Daniel Defense and shoots it alongside of this one. Oh yeah, they're going to notice a little bit of a difference. But a guy like me or a guy like my buddy Trevor, who's shot bazillions of rounds through many different types of ARs, the difference between these two is staggering in how flat the gun stays. So, you know, that's really my take on the SR-15s. They're outstanding rifles, and in a similar light to the SCAR, they're outstanding rifles in that they are the Formula 1 version of a combat carbine. However, the little issues that I had with the SCAR, and there are many, I personally believe are valid ones. This one, in many cases, is just as proprietary as the SCAR. The only things that you can really change out are certain lower receiver parts, buffers, springs, and a couple other things. But the rest of the rifle is pretty much a proprietary gun all in one. That being said, though, it is still in most cases cheaper than a SCAR. So just understand what you're getting into if you're looking at one of these. In no way would I discourage someone from buying one of these, because to be quite honest, this is probably one of the finest shooting rifles I've ever shot. I mean, I've shot the Adams Arms, Core 15 and stuff like that, and I would rate it on the same shelf as far as smoothness, the Adams Arms rifle, by the way. But this guy, while it's on the same shelf, is scooted a little bit more forward. But that's a real short review on this guy. I hope that you guys actually enjoyed it. Remember that you can track me on the Facebook page under a Regular Guy's Firearm page. I'll post a link in the description below. And remember, a Regular Guy's Firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.